my friend Felix here with rapt attention. And then if I didn't know the NDC or know John Dramani Mahama or have not lived under his stewardship of this economy and this country, I did think that I was speaking to the Pope. Fortunately, I have lived under his stewardship. His legacy or his record is there for all of us to see. This is a man who oversaw the Ghanaian economy growing at the rate of 3.7% in 2016. This is what we inherited. This is a man who oversaw an economy and a currency that was depreciating averagely by about 17% between 2013 and 2016. This is a man who today is promising that when you get admission to level 100 in public universities, he's going to waive all the, is it academic user facility fee or tuition fee, one of them, whatever it is. This is a man who, in another breath, is telling us that he is going to review free SHS to the extent that private schools are going to be brought under the umbrella of free SHS. So I'm not too sure about the consistency of the policy. Whether you take off private institutions at the tertiary level, include them at the free SHS level, I am not too sure what the policy is. But let's delve further into this policy. I recollect President John Dramani Mahama telling us that he was not going to do free SHS on the whimsical promise of a desperate politician. On a whimsical promise of a desperate politician. He is not going to do free SHS because such policies in other countries have not done too well. This is the man today who has the effrontery to look us in the face and tell us that he's going to waive up fees when you go to level 100 in public universities. Where lies the consistency? Is this a man to be trusted? I won't trust him. I will not vote for such a man. This is a man who told us that if he had 2 billion cedis, he would not invest in free SHS like the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government is done. That has benefited 5.7 million Ghanaians. Who today, some of who, I read something last week that the law faculty at Legon, for the first time, had recorded over 20 first-class students in the faculty. All products of free SHS. All of them. And what are you saying? That today, you who spoke against us, a party that came out to sponsor adverts against free SHS, today, they are telling us that beyond free SHS, they are going to waive off fees for students who qualify through the system. In any case, they have told us time without number. They will review this free SHS policy that has been in place since 2017. In fact, when it comes to the argument of free SHS, I really don't know where the NDC stands and where they get their confidence to even talk about free SHS. Recollect, NPP did not start preaching free SHS to the Ghanaian population in 2017. We are going to elections in 2008, preaching free SHS. We did same in 2012. And then 2017, when we got the opportunity, at the first accent, in September 2017, we rolled out the policy because of the belief we had in there. Our opponents, what did they do? Rather than support such a policy, they sponsored adverts. They ran up to 2016 elections, they ran up to 2012 elections. Today, what are they telling us? That they are going to go beyond it and ensure that students or products of the free SHS have access to public universities. At the same event yesterday, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I chanced on a segment where they were saying that they were going to incorporate private schools into free SHS. So I'm wondering why they're leaving out private universities. Today, our universities have gone beyond. When I was in university, there were no private universities in Ghana. Some 25 years ago. We only had Tech, Cape, and of course, Legon at the time. And so policies revolved around public universities. Today, the system is different. Even within public universities, there are options of fee pay, where you end up having 2 students in the business school and the medical school or in the law school, doing the same course, but one is a fee paying option, one is a regular student. I don't know which this policy applies to, whether it's going to be with a fee paying option or with the regular students. I am not too clear. The argument about free SHS that some Ghanaians have been making over time are saying, well, if I can afford to pay the fees of my wards in school, if I've paid their fees through private schools from class 1 probably to JHS 3, why can't I pay the fees when they get into senior high school? That's been the argument. And that I can do it. So if I can do it, why should government take up the weight?
Yes.
And the argument has been that let's do means testing. We have held the view that, look, at the time, doing means testing in Ghana was going to be problematic because you can't even identify who the parents are, what they do, where they live, their levels of income or not. Thankfully.
How are you able to determine LEAP beneficiaries?
Oh, of course, you go. Yes. You go make those inquiries and all of that. But obviously, when you talk of LEAP, there's some age limit to LEAP. Not everybody. Or when you talk of people with disabilities, I mean, it's very obvious, things that you can verify. Means testing is being one of the arguments that the proponent or the people that have argued against free SHS and the cost and quality and whatnot have used in this country. Is the NDC going contrary to what they have preached over the years? Where lies the consistency? If I didn't know President John Dramani Mahama, former President John Dramani Mahama, I would have believed all that they were saying yesterday. What happens after level 100? It's a very good question. Don't forget, we have moved away from points. I recollect when I got into Legon, back in 1996, I had to get my father to go to SNET to do temperature together with some of his colleagues for me to qualify for a student loan. Thankfully, the digitalization man, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, and the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo today, because we have identity cards and students can be identified throughout their lives, you don't even need a guarantor. And so, if this policy was well thought through with an admission letter, of course you are issued an admission letter before you pay your fees. It should be possible. If this policy was thought through well, you don't have to get onto campus before you are able to get into it. So yesterday I listened on and off, but with this particular policy, these are the flaws of it. And for people who consistently have spoken against free SHS, consistently, who in 2015 thereabout, because I don't know why they wanted to get into the act of promoting this policy, made some budgetary allocation to just fool. I didn't know what the intent was, whether to mislead the rest of us in the budget, made some budgetary allocation, which was with some half-hearted approach. Today, they are telling us that they were the people who actually proposed and implement free SHS. But what we have done on this policy alone, since 2017, I don't think that the NDC has the effrontery to come and tell us today, Ghanaians, that they are going to pay for whether academic user fee or whether tuition fee for first year entrance into university. Look, in other arguments, they have told us that, look, The youth of Ghana today are unemployed because we have created access to free SHS, they finish free SHS, and there is no access to tertiary institute, or there are no jobs. Have they thought about jobs after universities when these guys graduate? Have they? Well, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's wait for the details of what. But for what I saw yesterday, I'm thinking that this thing is something that they want to throw some dust into our eyes. In any case, I've heard the argument that, oh yes, we are going to fund this by cutting the budget to the Office of Government Machinery to make resources available to fund this proposition. Look, Randy, the Office of Government Machinery is not something that is static. When we came into power in 2017, we have created certain institutions, like the Free SHS Secretariat that Felix mentioned. Yes, it's directly under the Office of the President. And so the budget adds up to the budget of the Office of the Government Machinery. So if this institution did not exist in a previous government, it meant that comparing the budget like to like, it's a non-starter, because the structures are different. The structures are different. And so for you to say and use absolute figures, let's look at the content. Let's drill down. See how many institutions are under the Office of the President, what they are doing. Is a way to look at some of these things. Look. President John Dramani Mahama, back to the issue of access to, the creation of access to students post-free SHS. He had told us that, look, if he had resources, and he mentioned explicitly, if he had 2 billion cedis, he would not spend it on free SHS. I'm wondering why he's seeking to spend 300 million on tertiary institutions or tertiary education. Randy, when I was member of parliament,
repeat that again.
He said, if he had 2 billion cedis that we had spent on free SHS at the time, he wasn't going to spend it on secondary education.
So you said something else. I wanted to check the correlation.
I'm wondering, how come he's going to spend about 300 million? The figures I'm hearing, they
300 million and 2 billion. What's the correlation?
The correlation is that this is a man who will not invest in secondary education to that extent. That has benefited 5.7 million students. I'm wondering how many students are going to benefit from the 300 million. That's the people who qualify to get into university and who wants to go to university. We have said, and we are creating options for people post-free SHS. We are saying, look, we are going to get a curriculum, right, aligned to the needs of the 4th Industrial Revolution. And that's what we are going to do. Get people to be thinkers. Identify opportunities. And I keep saying, look, the great nations of this world today, in the US and China, creativeness is what is driving these economies. Because people are creative, they create businesses, they expand. And that is what pushes and grows these economies. And it's not the normal things that we have done over time that have not served us very well. So if I didn't know John Dramani Mahama, and yesterday, from the expose, access to free SHS, access to university education and all of that, I would have believed him. But from what I know of this man, for what he has said about education, about secondary education, I doubt the sincerity to which he's doing it. But then again, he's told us that within electioneering, you say things that will get the voter to have some likening to you and cast their vote for you. So if today he is going around saying things just to be able to get the minds of the Ghanaian voter, in any case, again, he has told us that Ghanaians have short memories. So it is a case that he says it today, we go around, we vote for him, he comes into power, and then he does nothing. He does nothing. This is a man who presided over an economy growing at 3.7% when they had no COVID, when they had no Russia and Ukraine challenges, when they had no such challenges. In living memory, there has not been a time when economies or the global economy has been challenged like we saw in 2020. So for us to have been able to steer this economy to an extent that for every relevant year, the economy grew positively, including in 2020 when we grew this economy by 0.5%. Including in 2020 when we grew this economy by 0.5%. I'm wondering what the NDC could have done under those circumstances, given their record prior to 2017.